I got cold called this week completely out of the blue, and as someone who works in sales myself and makes cold calls for a living, 40,000 to be exact, I wanted to be nice and give this rep the time of day. So I said, how can I help? And they said, Trent, I'm calling you about car insurance, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, appreciate the call. I'm not interested. I gave them the objection straight up. I already have insurance. I'm not interested. The person hesitated and said, oh, okay, and gave me a super canned response and rebutted it. It didn't come out clean, but I actually thought, you know what? I'm paying $150 a month for car insurance. Can you help me get it lower? I said, look, this is what I'm spending. Can you help me get it lower? So I really dangled the carrot in front of them, and they said, yeah, absolutely, we can make it happen. So as a result, I ended up setting up a subsequent meeting with someone that was actually able to work the deal and close it. They ran a pretty poor sales cycle, but bottom line is they were able to set a meeting with me via a cold call. In today's video, I want to break down how they were able to do it, what captivated me about it, and also talk about my own experience cold calling in mid-August 2021. To be honest, I have not set a meeting in about 2 weeks on the phones. So let's get back to the basics and talk about what are the fundamentals about how to actually get people to answer the phone. What do you say on the phone? What do you look for when adding prospects to your sequence? We're going to talk about all that more in today's video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and I want to help as many salespeople as I possibly can to reach more success sooner rather than later. The reason this cold call worked on me was because I happened to actually be in the market for new insurance, and the timing was relevant, and I had a pain. So when you're cold calling, just note that even if you have the best talk track in the world, even if you have the absolute perfect script, even if you reach the perfect prospect that has all the money in the world, if they don't have a pain, if timing's not relevant, then it doesn't really matter what you say. So you got to recognize that cold calling, the odds are stacked against you inherently, because if it's not good timing, they're probably not going to take the call. So that leads you to then think, okay, how do I actually increase my ability and percentages to set more meetings? Right now, I've been struggling to even get people on the phone, and you may be experiencing this as well. I'm speaking with some of my friends who are SDRs, account executives, and they all say, right now, cold calling is just tough. I'm trying to find different ways around it. Anytime I have a problem with answer rate, I always get back to the base foundation and say, what can I control to improve my answer rate? Number one is using the sales tools at your disposal. Fortunately, I have Zoom Info and LinkedIn Sales Navigator at my company. I always use these tools. Zoom Info to find the direct line and to confirm I'm reaching the right email of the prospect. And then of course, LinkedIn Sales Navigator to confirm that prospect is even still at the company. What I do is once I identify the right person, then I put them in my sequence using Outreach, which is another sales prospecting tool. I send them an email, I call them, and then leave a voice message. And that's really the trifecta of making sure that you're getting their attention. And then from that point, it's gonna take another 6 to 9 touches to hopefully get them on the phone and eventually set the meeting. So that's at the foundation. Control what you can control by way of making sure you're calling direct lines and you're calling people that even are still at their companies and that have relevant titles. The next foundation is, when are you calling? When I think about call times, before the pandemic, my sweet spot was always early in the morning, 8 to 10, and then mid to late afternoon, 3 to 5. That was always the sweet spot for me. And now that we're in the pandemic, I really have a feeling, I don't have any data to back this up, but I think that that's shifted a little bit. And to be quite honest, I don't know what time's best, because working from home, I think people, it just instinctually I feel like people start later because they're working from home and they work different hours. So maybe calling midday is better. And now that I talk through it, I'm gonna start calling between 11 and 1 a little bit more frequent. So the next variable you control is when you're actually calling. The next rung on the pyramid is to drop a like on this video below if you want to set more meetings on the phone, because it also really helps the channel. That was a desperate ask, but hey, if you have a second, go ahead and spare it now and help me out. The next rung on the pyramid, that was a shameless ask, by the way, and you have to be willing to make shameless asks if you're gonna set meetings on the phone. So you gotta do it, you gotta be a little cringy sometimes. The next rung on the pyramid is be intentional with who you're calling. I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, and I see this mistake with new reps so often, is they're just calling to call. Don't just make 30 calls in a day so you can check a box saying, oh, I had a lot of output, I had a lot of volume today. If you're just calling to call and you're not actually measuring your efficiency, then it doesn't really matter what you're doing. And when we think about efficiency, be intentional with who you're calling. If I were to point out a specific person in your sequence, would you be able to tell me exactly why you're calling them? If you don't have a definitive reason why you're calling them and why you think your solution would be a good fit, then it's probably not even worth your time to outreach. And I always want to make sure that I'm identifying warmth. So the prospect has engaged with content in the past, perhaps they've downloaded something, maybe they've spoken with someone in the past, maybe something relevant has happened at the company by way of news, updates, acquisitions, mergers. That means it's a relevant time and I have an idea in regards to how my solution could benefit them. All that's really important. It's all about generating warmth and going after the low-hanging fruit. And then when you finally get someone on the phone, that's the final variable, is what do you actually say when you're on the phone. I've given trainings on this in the past extensively, talking about my talk track. I believe it's universal in all situations, and this is all I do if we were to role play. Let's say your name is Sally. Hey Sally, this is Trent from Qualtrics. How are you? Hey Trent, I'm doing fine. Perfect. The reason I'm giving you a call this afternoon, Sally, is that I'm following up on a recent email I had sent you. Does the name Qualtrics ring a bell? Sometimes they say, no, never heard of Qualtrics, no, I get a lot of emails, or yes, it does. At that point I say, fantastic. Well, the reason I'm reaching out to you specifically, Sally, is that I noticed you oversee Vice President of Human Resources at XYZ company. Is employee engagement or employee feedback collection a priority for you or the team this year in 2021? So I'm asking such a broad question. It is closed-ended, and it's so broad and almost so specific at the same time that they have to say yes, because employee engagement typically is a priority for most companies. And they say, yeah, well, of course. And then I go into, okay, perfect. My company Qualtrics helps you to better collect feedback at each point that matters along your employee lifecycle to drive XYZ outcomes, reducing cost, mitigating risk, increasing revenue, other outcomes your product or solution serves. It sounds like there's alignment here today. What is your availability next week for a brief introductory conversation? Either they agree to the call at that point, because the purpose of a cold call is to sell time. Either they agree to the call at that point or give you some sort of objection in which you must overcome, or rather than going into the ask, you can ask an open-ended question to get more information as you think about building value and discovery. I like to go right into the ask, because never forget, the purpose of a cold call is to sell time, and you need to make the ask. Always make the ask. Go make some more cold calls this week. Use this video as your excuse to say, you know what? It's summertime, people are on vacation, it's COVID, people are working remotely, more reps are calling than ever. There's always excuses. Oh, it's Christmas, no one's gonna answer. Oh, it's a new time of the year. Oh, it's March Madness, no one's answering the phone. There's excuses at all points in the year. Use this video as your excuse to go make more calls, go set more meetings, go hit your quota, go make more money. Thanks so much for watching this video. Drop a like below if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to join networks. And drop me a comment down below for the sake of the algorithm. Come on now, guys. See you in the next video.